Well, hello everybody. Thanks for joining me once again. Great to be with you. And for those of you who are part of C3 Monash, I just want to remind you that this Sunday, the 26th of September 2021, Deb and I are going to be introducing you to our successors, the new senior ministers that are going to be taking over when we hand on to them. So we're going to be introducing you to them this Sunday. So make sure you tune in at 10 o'clock, and that's going to be very exciting. We're thrilled to be part of this process and seeing what God is doing moving forward. So anyway, today the devotion I wanted to come out of Proverbs 20:25, and it says this: "It is a trap to dedicate something rashly and only later to consider one's vows." Considering our vows today, considering the things, the commitments that we make, the obligations that we need to honor. And Proverbs 20:25 says this in the same scripture in New Living Translation says, "Don't trap yourself by making a rash promise to God and only later counting the cost." And I don't know about you, but have you ever said anything and regretted it? Wanted to, as the words are coming out of your mouth, you're just kind of wanting to grab them and think, "Oh no, I shouldn't be saying this." And but sadly, it's too late. They've gone out. And or have you ever found yourself doing a deal with God or making a vow that, and then when you stop and think about it, you think, "Hang on a minute, what have I just committed to here?" The weighing up the cost after you've actually made the vow. And so I think this scripture is reminding us that we need to consider the vows that we make, especially to God. But that's a general principle, I think, that we need to be aware of. Because remembering that the Israelite people of the day, there was no requirement for them to make vows to God. But once the vow was made, then it was a binding, and they were honor bound to fulfill the vow that had been made. And I kind of think, well, for you and I, it's the same. We need to be true to the words that we say. And my father, who passed away in April last year in the middle of COVID, as many of you know, but one of his maxims in life, if you like, was that a man's word was his bond. And so, that's the principle that we're kind of discussing here. And so as we think about it, and reading this scripture is talking about, we make this vow and then later we think about what we've actually said, but we should be thinking before we act. Tradies, I know, have a measure twice, cut once kind of policy. And if you're not very good with your hands like me, it's probably wise to measure 3 or 4 times before you even cut. And so, it's that same sort of thought that, we need to consider what we're saying. And what this scripture is not saying here is that it's wrong to make a vow. It's, we need to make vows. We need to actually stand by our word. And it's also not saying that it's wrong or improper to break a vow. If we've made a wrong vow, then there's ways to go about changing that. And it's also not saying here it's wrong to think about the vow after you've made it. It's not saying any of that. I think that it is something, the essence of what this is talking about is humility. I think that we need to be stand by the words that we say. And let me ask you another question. Have you ever said something that you regretted or later had to apologize for? I think that's a pretty human kind of condition, isn't it? But that takes humility to do that, to actually acknowledge that we were wrong. And if this scripture is, the essence of this scripture is humility, I wonder if humility is actually often not what we think it is. There's a dimension to humility that's maybe not as I say, what we think it is. Humility is not having a low opinion of ourselves, or humility is actually not saying sorry or admitting we're wrong. and they're kind of they're things that may be considered acts of humility. But when you think about it, Jesus was the only man who lived on earth, and in his dealings with his friends and his enemies never had to say, I was wrong, or apologize, or say I was sorry. And yet, or even had to ask for forgiveness. He never had to do any of that. And yet Jesus was the model of humility. And so it's obviously humility then is actually something even more than doing those things. Because I think about some of the things that Jesus said. He called on numerous occasions the religious leaders a brood of vipers. I don't know about you, but if I've said that to somebody, I'll probably be thinking, no, maybe that was a bit harsh. I should probably go back and apologize. Or, he called a group of people one time a perverse generation. And so he turned over the tables in the temple of the day, and he challenged the rich people and said, woe to you who are rich. And then he forgave a woman who was caught in the act of adultery, which probably was not a good look at the time. And so, you look at all of these sorts of things that Jesus did, but he never apologized for any of those things. They weren't sinful. They weren't anything that he needed to apologize for. And yet, he's the ultimate person of humility. And so, the humility then is not a matter of words, but of deeds. And the thing that Jesus did that modeled his humility is that he came down, he descended, he abased himself so that he could serve others. And humility then is pouring ourselves out for other people freely, and not only living our life for ourselves, but to actually live it for other people. And I think that's the essence of what honoring our vows before God is about. We actually are in this place of, we need to demonstrate this essence of humility in the way that we conduct ourselves and the things that we say. And it's been a bit of a ramble today, but I reckon it's worth considering. God bless you as you have a great week, and we'll see you on Sunday. Bye for now.